biggest improvement I've seen, besides just the speed of it, is just how clean everything is. You know, I spend a lot less time cleaning stuff up. So it's really been a big improvement to be able to use lasers for everything.
Today I'm so excited to visit the well-known YouTuber Chris. And Chris' channel is Full Steam Design. His channel is mainly on the metalworking and the auto repair. So today let's hear about his story.
So I'm Chris from Full Steam Designs. I do a bunch of different stuff: metalworking, woodworking. I'm just an overall maker. I got a bunch of projects I want to show you guys. Here's one behind me here. This is a 1970 Camaro. Obviously it needs a lot of work. I've got a lot of sheet metal to fabricate and replace on it. I'm just going to be taking it one little bit at a time, because otherwise I think I'll get overwhelmed with it. I'm going to be starting with this hole here. I've got to fabricate this panel, and then I'm going to be able to cut it out and weld it up with the MetalFab. It works great on heavier stuff. The Model A frame, the subframe that I've been working on, it works amazing for that, and it does a really quick, really clean job of it. Faster than I could ever do it with anything else.
Wow, what's that, Chris? That's so amazing.
It's a 1928 Ford Model A. This is one of my hot rods that I've been building for a while. This kind of combines woodworking with metalworking and my automotive hobby. So I've already been using the P2 on this. I made this windshield here. This is just a mock-up, but you know, it helped me figure everything out, and I'll be able to figure out the glass and stuff that I need to have made for it. And eventually I'll be making this out of metal, which I'll probably use the MetalFab for. I've also got to make a number of brackets and just do all sorts of welding on the car. So now we're in the metalworking shop. I keep tools like my belt grinder that I use for cleaning up material, my chop saw that I use for processing all the raw material that comes into the shop. I've also got my mill and my lathe that I use for machining. I've got my traditional welders over here. I use them for just general fabrication, you know, doing auto body work. And then finally, I've got my metal fabrication table over here, and this is where I've got the xTool MetalFab all set up. So this is a 1930 Ford Model A sedan, and I've got a bunch of stuff planned for this. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun project on the body, and the plan is to chop the top on this. This is 19 gauge steel. It's pretty thin. Usually they'll warp a little bit in the backs when you're welding them there. On those big flat panels, they don't have a ton of shape in them. I think this is going to be the perfect candidate for the laser welder. I may try to cut some of it off to weld it back together, and I'm going to be using the MetalFab for that because it's thin sheet metal. I've just found that this is a lot easier to weld thin materials. I can do a lot more fine detail stuff. I get a lot less distortion from the heat, especially on welding thin materials like the sheet metal for cars. You know, it will do everything that I need. It can cut, clean, and weld, which is something that I can't do with my traditional welders.
Because we are so curious about what's the difference between the TIG and the laser, xTool laser welders. So now we just have a competition with Chris. Yeah, this is the outfit from xTool. Just really fancy, right?
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, I done my job.
All right, you're a little faster than me.
Okay, let's see the weld. This is made from xTool MetalFab laser welder.
And this one here was done with the TIG welder.
And then, how do you think about my weld?
It's pretty good, I'm gonna be honest. I've been doing this for about 15 years, and that's definitely a nice looking weld. I mean, it's very fine, which is nice. That's what you get with the laser welder. When you finished before me, I got a little nervous and started trying to rush with it.
Okay.
So I don't think my weld came out as good as I had hoped it would, but let's do a brake test and see how they do. All right, so I've got the TIG weld on this side. I've got the laser weld on this side. I'm just gonna do a simple bend test, and we're gonna see if either of them breaks. I'd say that's pretty good. Neither of them broke. I was a little worried about mine because it did actually start to crack, but it looks like the laser weld held up pretty much perfect. You know, I always did metalworking, but they never had like metalworking tools originally, and now they've got this, and it's just amazing. You know, you can certainly start out the way that I did, with grinders and, you know, cheaper welders and stuff like that. I did that for a long time, but if you really want to jump into it, you can definitely just start with a MetalFab. It's very easy to learn. The learning curve is definitely a lot easier than any other type of welding. With the CNC, being able to cut shapes out like that, I mean, it's a huge jump over where it was when I started. The plans for the CNC is going to be brackets. You know, I'll be able to make engine mounts, suspension stuff. I've got a bunch of ideas, some stuff for my Jeep. I want to make bumpers and all sorts of stuff like that. The stuff that you can do with this CNC machine just takes a little bit of computer knowledge, and being creative is the biggest part of it.
Thank you so much for sharing all the amazing projects. And thank you guys here. If you are interested in xTool, you can check the xTool.com and also YouTube channel. And where we can find you, please?
You can find me all over social media at Full Steam Designs. And again, thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.